welcome to the Musing Show. I'm your host once again, Tanya D, and as always, thanks for joining me. In today's Musing Show, I have Heidi St. Rogers for Meet Me for Coffee. And Heidi, tell me what it is that you do.
So I've been in the healing arts for 20 years, and my background is in body work and shamanic healing, and that led me into doing what's called Family Constellations.
And what is Family Constellations?
So Family Constellations is a therapy that is utilized to help heal inherited family trauma. So we work with family systems, lineages to clear trauma that may be being passed down at a cellular level.
So where did it come from?
So it's actually an indigenous technology, meaning that it originated from the Zulu tribe in Africa, and a man named Bert Hellinger brought it from Africa to the States, and he was a psychotherapist, so he helped shift it a little bit for the Western psyche, but whenever in indigenous cultures, when there's an issue that's occurring with someone, either at a personal level or with their family, they always look to the ancestors. So this is one way to clear up the trickle-down effect of situations that might be being passed through lineages.
So how does trauma get passed through generations?
So right now there's research showing that they can trace it at least 13 generations deep. The mother of the Constellation Work, who is also my teacher, is Jill Peirce. She's out of England. And her husband is Rupert Sheldrake, who's a very famous biologist. And he actually defined what's called the morphic resonant field. So within any kind of system, there's what's called a resonance, or a field of energy, and that's how birds know how to all fly in the same direction, and schools of fish know how to move together, and it's the same way with our families. But what they're seeing now is that trauma gets literally passed through our DNA. So you've heard of epigenetics before.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how is this work performed?
So the work can be performed either in groups or one-on-one, also long distance. And in a group setting, there will have one person who's working out something. So it could be chronic anxiety, or an eating disorder, or certain like marital problems at a certain age. So basically I tap into the field, the morphic field, and we're able to trace whatever kind of symptom is being presented with a person. We're able to trace it within a family system. And it can also be done within a community, like a cultural system or an environmental system. So it's not just for the family line. But in a group dynamic, that someone who's working will choose someone from the group to represent someone in their system. So it's an embodied experience of healing and shifting that whatever's being passed down. And in a long distance setting, it's similar. I just have people step into socks. So instead of having a mirror to represent the person in their system, they get to experience it for their own selves.
And what other offerings do you provide?
So, like I said, I've been in the healing arts for a long time, and I've done a lot of work. I have an extensive background in Dzogchen and Tibetan Buddhism. I've worked with Malidoma, Somé, we have. So really my primary intention is to bring the sacred back into the daily. So incorporating ceremony and ritual into our daily lives, whether it be how we make our coffee or smudging our space. I would call myself a ceremonialist and a ritualist, and I help people to bring ritual back into their lives. I also do space clearing, both energetically and physical space, so I can go in and help people to declutter their spaces and do kind of the psychological, emotional purging that comes with that process, and just get organized. Because we either get organized from the inside first or from the outside first, and that affects our inside. I am a body worker, so I offer different kinds of healing body work. And what else do I do? I provide Ayurvedic, it's kind of a long list. I provide Ayurvedic consultations. So Ayurveda is an Eastern Indian system of medicine, which is preventative in its nature. So it's a lot of diet and little pieces that we can tweak in our everyday lives that make a tremendous impact on our vitality.
Okay, in 1 minute here, I have a little Sir Didymus is kind of getting excited and wants to join the show. Come here. Come on.
You want to come up?
1 second here.
Yeah, baby.
A show's not a show without my boyfriend, right?
No, not without the boyfriend.
So ceremony, ritual, space clearing, rites of passage.
So rites of passage, in the old days, when girls became women and crossed that bridge, there was always ceremony and ritual to celebrate that and honor them. And that's a lot of different things. It can be after a divorce or the birth of a child. So I provide tools to celebrate transitions, and it can be anything. I do wedding ceremonies and death rites and blessing ways, which is an older version of the baby shower. So we celebrate the mother and all of her power, versus, lots of baby gifts and things like that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And so where do you work?
So presently I work between Salt Lake City, Utah at a clinic called Restorative Health. It's a ketamine clinic here in Salt Lake City. And I work with a company in White Salmon, Washington called Zveda, which is an Ayurvedic CBD company that I got to be a part of. So I work long distance. I have a workshop coming up at Vitalize Studio in Salt Lake. I offer groups and workshops pretty much anywhere that I get called into.
And how can people find you online?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook page. It's Heidi St. Family Constellations. And I also have a website, HeidiSt.Rogers.com.
And how would somebody go about booking a session with you?
So you can go to my website and fill out your contact information, and I'll reach out. Or my phone number is on my Facebook page, and people are welcome to book through Facebook also.
Okay, and out of curiosity, why would somebody want a family constellation?
So a lot of times it's like we hit a crossroads in our life, and we just feel like there's something not quite right, but it's not necessarily ours. Mm-hmm. So I learned the constellation work. My teacher, Mark Woolen, out of the Bay Area, wrote a book called It Didn't Start With You. So it's really fascinating. It can be used for addiction, for insomnia, for, literally anything under the sun. But there's always a traceable thread. So oftentimes it's like an internal intuition. When I learned the work after I had my son, I knew that I needed to clear some family stuff, and I couldn't get to England to do that. So I found Mark, and it was just, it felt like my entire life's work had led me to do this work in particular. So more and more we're hearing about the ancestors. More and more we're hearing about this internal calling of something that needs to be healed within our family system. And so I help navigate that process.
Is there anything else you want to share?
No, I'm so happy to be here with you. Thank you
so
for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us for Meet Me for Coffee on the Musing Show. and I will see you on the other side.